Hello friends, today I'll be discussing about history and evolution of company law. First, I'll go forward with the introduction and meaning of the word company and history and evolution of company law, and then I'll be concluding my lecture. Company law is the law governing formation, management, and dissolution of companies. It deals with rights, duties, and obligations of company stakeholders. If a ship is a company, from the crew to the passengers, everyone will be considered to be the stakeholders. There are three reasons as to why company law emerged. First one is that it provides legal structure for businesses. Second reason is that it encourages investment with limited risk with the introduction of concepts known as limited liability and separate legal existence. And the third reason is that it ensures accountability, transparency, etc. A puppet cannot walk on its own, but it's a law which gives power like magic to do business and act like a person. That's what is a company. Once upon a time, there lived a man named Raghav. He ran a small family business. The family business went into debts. He had to pay out of his own pocket, meaning the liability was unlimited. He wanted to expand, and hence he brought in a partner named Anil. The sole proprietor became a partnership firm named R&A. Here also the situation didn't alter. The liability remained unlimited. Raghav wanted to expand the partnership firm into a joint stock company. It became a joint stock company known as R&A Private Limited. After the Solomon and Solomon case, the concepts known as limited liability and separate legal existence was added, and hence the company now had a separate legal existence and it had liability which was limited. The companies soon foraged into multiple businesses and it became a multinational company. Soon they came to know that some of its goods was spurious. A customer raised complaint making Raghav personally liable. But it was held that the company could be made liable but not Raghav because the company was an artificial legal person and it had a separate legal existence. So the features of a company are that it is an artificial legal person, it has a perpetual succession, and its liability is limited, and it has a common seal and capacity to be sued and sue in its own name. Company law did not emerge in a day. It was built layer by layer to meet the needs of a growing economy. The word company has been derived from the two words "com" meaning people and "pani" meaning bread. It was a place where people met for eating bread. A small family run business became a large corporation. Section 220 of Companies Act defines company as a company incorporated under this act or any other previous company laws. In the segment where I'll be discussing about the evolution of company law, I'll explain the various company laws that were in existence and companies registered under those enactments will also be considered to be companies. The company law does not define company anywhere, but there are these features. First one is that it is an artificial legal person. For an instance, let us take that X is a person who has started XYZ Private Limited. X wants to purchase ShopRite. X can do it in the company's name but not in his own name. If X X's company has been producing defective goods, the customer should sue the company but not X per se. This is a concept known as artificial legal person. Second feature is that it has a separate legal existence. Third feature is that it is perpetual in succession. If a bomb falls on a company, the succession will be perpetual. It will still continue. The fourth feature is that it can sue and be sued in its own name. And the fifth feature is that the liability is limited. When I was discussing about Raghav and Anil, I had discussed about limited liability. This concept emerged as soon as the Solomon and Solomon case. It stated that Solomon would not be held personally liable because the company had a separate legal existence and it had a limited liability. I will be discussing about Solomon Solomon case in detail in my next video. Kindly stay tuned. Until then, let me discuss about history and evolution of company law. In the Arthashastra, four duties have been mentioned for a king. First one is Raksha, which meant protection of wealth, and Parana, which meant creation of wealth through profitable ventures, Vriddhi, which meant allocation of wealth and assets, and Yogakshema, which meant profit motive along with social responsibility. Thus, the concept of corporate social responsibility was very much a part of ancient India. Small businesses turned into large corporations. Company law history is a proof of it. It started with sole trading and partnership firms during the 1600s. Charter companies replaced partnership firms during the 1700s. East India Company was a charter company. In the aftermath, every companies had to be registered and incorporated only through a charter from the royal family. In the 1800s, joint stock companies came into existence, but the liability was still unlimited. In 1855, concept known as limited liability was added. For example, if X is a shareholder of a company and he has contributed 10 rupees and 100 rupees is the loss that the company goes through, X will be liable for only 10 rupees. In 1862, incorporation of companies through registration came into existence. In 1866, Companies Act of 1866 was enacted. Companies Act of 1912 replaced Companies Act of 1866 and Companies Act of 1956 replaced Companies Act of 1912 and Companies Act of 2013 replaced Companies Act of 1956. Let us see the features of these enactments. The Companies Act of 1866 distinguished between private and public companies. The company had a limited liability. The Companies Act of 1912 introduced something called as corporate governance. Maintaining of books of accounts and annual returns became compulsory. The key features of this enactment was introduction of prospectus disclosure norms, appointment of auditors, and winding up of companies. The Companies Act of 1956, due to the recommendation of Baba Committee, introduced definition of private and public company, and the registrar of company was also introduced. Statutory audit became compulsory, and Company Law Board became the governing body. The Companies Act of 2013, due to the recommendation of J. J. Irani Committee of 2005, introduced one-person company, and Company Law Board replaced Company National Company Law Tribunal and National Company Law Appellate Tribunal. CSR, that is corporate social responsibility, was added, and penalties for fraud increased due to the scandal of Satyam Computers. Reiterate and conclude that a company is an artificial legal person, perpetual succession, and with a limited liability, and a separate legal existence and a character separate from its shareholders, capacity to sue and be sued, and with a common seal. Do let me know in the comments what is a company, and in your own words summarize history and evolution of company law in India. Thank you for listening to my lecture.